I would like to ask you if you've ever noticed why it seems like only celebrities get AIDS or HIV. I would like you to ask yourself if you've ever wondered why you don't really know a lot of people with AIDS or HIV. I would also like you to ask yourself if you have ever met anybody, even one person, who has also had West Nile, SARS, the bird flu, the swine flu, Ebola, or the Zika virus. I would like you to ask yourself why we, as a people, are bombarded with disease after disease after disease after disease, and told that they are highly contagious, completely deadly, and are plagues. I would like you to ask yourself why you can go into a hospital and ask them to show you the AIDS patients, the West Nile patients, the SARS patients, the bird flu patients, the swine flu patients, the Ebola patients, and the Zika patients, and tell me what your conclusion is when you realize that the combined number for all is 0. There are no patients in hospitals with these diseases. So I'd like to go over why this happens. Why the AIDS? Why the bird flu? Why the swine flu? Why all those things? And the answer is that you're more valuable when you're scared shitless. You're more valuable when you think that your innocent case of diarrhea or your innocent yeast infection or your innocent running nose could kill you. They're making up diseases to scare the shit out of people, but the money is truly made when people believe that a disease is sexually transmitted. Because then people can be even more afraid. Yeah, afraid enough to buy condoms, afraid enough to use condoms, afraid enough to get tested, afraid enough to think that somebody that they know might have AIDS and not know it, afraid enough to go for a run or a walk for AIDS or HIV, afraid enough to buy things with red ribbons to hope that there will be a cure one day for this terrible, scary illness. See, you're more valuable when you're afraid. And that's why I'm always connecting the AIDS hoax to the flat earth theory. Because you're just so much more valuable if you think you're spinning on a ball and there's a plague just wrecking the globe. There's no globe, and there's no plague wrecking it. And if there were a plague to be wrecking it, it would be malnutrition. But they said this back in the 80s and the 90s on TV loudly for men ages 34 to 44 to hear it, so that they would be afraid, so that they would be scared enough to go buy condoms, and scared enough to use them, scared enough to put something between them and the woman that they hopefully love, scared enough to put something inside of her vagina that is latex, petroleum coated, synthetic lubricated, and for what? And have we even thought about all of the diseases that could come and have come from condom usage? I know that we're told a lot of things are sexually transmitted, but what if they're just sexually related? I have a bit of a theory about, like, warts and things like that. I think that it might be a little bit more dangerous for people to be putting these synthetic, lubricated, petroleum-based condoms in their vaginas than it would be to just have sex naturally with someone you love. Just saying. I mean, there's just so much more money that can be made when a disease is said to be sexually transmitted. If something is said to be sexually transmitted, that it can just rake in billions, and I mean billions in profit. I mean, the swine flu and the Ebola scare, these things can bring in money quickly, but for something to bring in money long term, they've got to get people invested in something called prophylaxis, something that can prevent the disease from ever occurring. And it would be really beneficial if the disease didn't exist at all. It actually would make a lot of sense. I don't know. I see so much more evidence of AIDS on advertisements and in magazines and back in the day on TV than I ever did in real life. And I hope that nobody believes that AIDS is real and it is what they say it is just based on somebody saying that they think they know somebody who has it. You know somebody who was given a very shitty diagnosis. You know somebody who has probably severe issues internally and immune system issues and nutrition issues. But what you don't know is somebody who has a sexually transmitted plague caused by a virus called HIV. It's not happening. Never did. I'd also like to address the gay connection, the African connection, the African American connection. It's all very similar. It all has to do with nutrition. And for anybody who wants to further their education in this, for anybody who wants to get a little bit more research done in this area, just look up the symptoms to malnutrition. Look up the symptoms to AIDS and HIV, see how basic and scary they could be, see how much money could be made off of them, and also see how similar they are. As for people being gay, this comes down to a lot of the issues with the colon. And I know that the FDA and the people that make condoms would like people, especially gay men, to believe that if they use condoms, they won't get AIDS. And that's only kind of halfway, maybe sort of even partially true. The truth is that the less semen they get in their colon, the less likely they would be to qualify for having such a disease. It has nothing to do with catching a virus with somebody. It has to do with being malnourished or being dehydrated in that certain way where your colon has been lined with semen, and it makes it very, very hard for nutrition to be absorbed, for hydration to be absorbed, and can cause a lot of long-term problems. This isn't a virus, and I'm sick of them saying that it is.